Greetings from the so-called and supposedly sunny Brighton. My name is Michelle Ocriciano, and I'm here in Brighton attending the IEP TOEFL, and today I'll be talking about my latest action research. So as you can see, the title is Intelligibility in EAP with Bite-Sized Learning and the ELF Core. So let's go on. The research was conducted at UNSW Institute of Languages, and that's where I was living until October last year. And I am actually Brazilian, and I think it's important to say that so that you know where I come from and what my background is. I'm really into teacher identity, and I think it's important that I make my identity very clear to you. However, I'm no longer at UNSW. I miss everybody around there, but now I live in Brisbane, and right now I am an academic manager there. Okay, enough about me. Let's go to what actually matters. So this action research was about pronunciation, and why pronunciation? I would say why not, right? Pronunciation is important. It was considered for some time the Cinderella of the skills, and it seems that there is a little bit of a coming back right now. And pronunciation is like air. It's everywhere, isn't it? So basically, if you want to, you can create a pronunciation activity out of anything, out of any task or activity you already have. And there is an issue, a little issue there. You can adapt course books, adapt anything you have, but when you adapt, you actually need to know about the course book, right? Now, I'll leave you with that. And remember, I'm giving this presentation here, so I have an extra slide. Of course, I cannot see a show of hands from you. I suppose you're watching that alone, if you're watching. So just think about it. Answer it for yourself. Do you teach EAP? Does the course you teach or the course book focus on pronunciation? Think about that. Thought about that? Okay. So now I have more questions for you that you would have to do in pairs. No pun intended. Do you have a contract or feel a certain level of stability at work? Do most teachers where you work have a contract or feel a certain level of stability? And do you teach a big cohort? Do relief teachers know students and course or course book well? So take a minute, think about that, and then don't think I'm crazy or I'm digressing. I'm not. There's a point to that. I imagine you thought about it. Pause the video if you want to. I'll just move on. The reason why I conducted this action research is perhaps more important than the action research itself. What I wanted to do was to make sure that both students and teachers have the same possibility and the same access to activities. So it is very easy for us to say, well, pronunciation is everywhere, so you should just adapt. However, if you are a casual teacher or if you're a relief teacher and you're just called in like in the morning or earlier in the morning or the night before, it's unlikely that you will know the course book. Maybe if you are a relief teacher for a period of time and you might know the course book and the course and the cohort, but the odds are that maybe you don't. And it is very likely that students will suffer from that, not because the teacher is a bad teacher, but just because the way things are. That's not fair to students. And it's also not fair to teachers to say that you should do it. You should adapt everything and make perfect lessons. Yes, we should do that. But if you're getting paid by hour, or if you're a casual, that makes it very difficult for you. So on the one hand, we have teachers who might not have the time to prepare classes the way they could have prepared the classes. And on the other side, we have teachers that actually deserve good classes. So I designed this action research to try to help them both. So, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but activities that any teacher, whether they know the course book or not, would just grab before they go to the lesson. So students will still have what they deserve, and the teacher will have everything pre-prepared. Bear with me. Let's go and continue. So as I said before, teachers may not have the time to adapt. And in the perfect world, we'll all would have contracts like I had. My contract was a very nice one. I had stability, and I had all the time I needed, including time to prepare this action research. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of the sector. So let's help teachers. And like I said before, it's about teachers and students, helping teachers, helping students achieve what they want to and what they need. We also have a problem that generally course books, they lack variety. Variety in terms of standards of English and different standards of English. And they're not usually exposed to different types of accents or even different varieties. Also, course books often lack pronunciation instruction. There's always that little part, the little tiny bit towards the end of the lesson. It's usually not incorporated to the whole lesson, and it's often neglected because it's something that we can easily skip for whatever reason, because we didn't have time, because teachers don't feel comfortable teaching it, for whatever reason. And when students got to my course, the course of where I was teaching, it was clear that for whatever reason, I can't tell which was the reason, but pronunciation instruction seems to be something that they were lacking. So let's talk a little bit about my the course I was teaching. It was a high-stakes course, a 10-week course with mostly Chinese students. We had variety, but in a very small number in this particular course. The other course at university had more students from different backgrounds. Mine didn't. So all students, they were on the pathway. So they would first do English with me. Then if they got approved, they would move on to foundation. If they got approved, they would go to university. My course, they would go to their bachelor's degree. Everything is in one visa, one package, and it's a high stakes course. And it is high stakes because of the domino effect. If they fail my course, they would have to take longer to do foundation year, and if they fail foundation year, they would take longer to start their bachelor's degree. Everything costs time and money. So there is a lot of pressure on both sides, on students and on teachers. That's the course was also heavily focused on essay writing, and it's not a problem from UNSW. I think this has to do with most of the courses, most of the EAP courses around the world. Most EAP courses are heavily focused on essay writing. And then you would ask, you know, you might know Dawson. So they are all going to uni. If they're going to uni, don't they have to give presentations as part of their assessments? Don't they have to communicate? with other peers. And shouldn't we as teachers, or not in the teacher level, but perhaps in an institutional level, be addressing this? Well, I think we should. But for whatever reason, it's very easy to talk about it from a teacher perspective and from a teacher's point of view, because everything's easy for us. We can do our own thing and make magic and make things happen. But when it comes to an institutional level, things are slower and much more complex. So we have to be aware of that. Still, I wasn't happy, and that's why I conducted my new action research. So lights, camera, and action research. So action research, I suppose you are familiar with it. So I'll just show you a little bit of snapshot of my research question. So can students' intelligibility be improved during a high-stakes EAP pathway course focused on essay writing? By number one, using bite-sized learning and by using the ELF core. I'll show the results later on. So let me tell you what happened. There were 48 women, 60 men over 3 different cycles. Each cycle had 32 students. 32 is the number of 2 different groups. So an average of 18 per group. A bit less, 16, I suppose. Students were from Vietnam, China, and Oman. I would say maybe 90% of students were from China. I think that's pretty much what it is. It's pretty standard when it comes to EAP courses in Australia, so nothing new there. So according to what we understand, they were either higher B1 or lower B2 according to their IELTS score. And well, action research, you might be very familiar with this. Action research is a process where you reflect, you plan, you revise, and you reflect, you plan, and you observe, and you reflect, and you plan, so on and so forth. Of course, as any other research, mine started much, a long time ago, much before I started properly this action research. I had my hypothesis and I wanted to, I've been observing for a long time, and then I had enough information so I could actually conduct it. Yeah. So, well, this is the definition of action research for you. And of course, some characteristics of action research. It's systematic. It's not like, let's see what happens. No, you have to, it's systematic. You are deliberately trying to find ways to make learning and teaching effective. It's evidence-based, so I collect data, and it's critically reflective. We all, if we're practitioners and action researchers, we have to be open-minded and responsive to what the data shows. And sometimes it's different from what you expect. But enough of the action research. Let's move on. What I did was to create a syllabus within a syllabus and within a syllabus and within a syllabus. Okay, there were not so many syllabus, but it was definitely a syllabus within a syllabus. I'm just being overly dramatic. In the end, it's basically all about apples. And have a look at my apples over here. It will make sense to you. Bite-sized learning, hooray! Bite-sized learning, it's something that it's been going on for some time. I'd say since 2011 we've been hearing about it. It is more popular with adult learning, human resources, corporate education, and corporate training. Not so much in ESL or EFL or ELF or ELT per se. So some information for you about attention span. And in 1998, the average attention span was around 12 minutes. Now look where we are right now. Who knows? Because in 2008, the average was 5 minutes. And if it's decreasing at this progression, maybe 1 minute? Who knows? I don't have the answer. Nobody seems to do. But our attention span is very little at the moment. Blame technology, blame cell phones, but it is what it is. And what I wanted to do, oh, hang on, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh yeah, let me give you a definition of bite-sized learning. So my highlights here. What makes learning bite-sized is more about the learning objectives as opposed to traditional courses, which typically try to achieve multiple learning objectives. Bite-sized learning is normally focused just on one key objective, and that's very important for what I did. Most of everything I did with learners during the action research was to focus on one and one only objective per class. So this is the official definition and what it means, bite-sized learning. So it's just a small unit with one key objective. My interpretation of that was warmers. So I didn't have time. When it comes to EAP, you might have the same problem as we all do. It's a high-stakes course, and it's pretty full. There is a lot to do. So there is not a lot of time for innovation or anything else, or adaptation. But I still had the time for warmers. So what I did was to transform my warmers into pronunciation units. While I was breaking the ice, I was also teaching them pronunciation. So I had two groups, Monday, Tuesday. Group 1 was Monday, Tuesday. I would teach them something different on Monday, something different on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I would review both days. However, the week just have 5 days. So the other group only had Monday and Tuesday. So I didn't have time to, I didn't have the review day with them. But I made sure that they had the core activities. And then what kind of core activities? I was usually using the English as a lingua franca core. And if you are new to ELF, English as a lingua franca, according to Jennifer Jenkins, ELF is multilingual communication in which English is available as a contact language of choice, but it's not necessarily chosen. So Jennifer Jenkins in 2000 for her master's or PhD, I'm not sure. It was her research. She came up with the English as a lingua franca core. As here you have an adaptation of the English as a lingua franca core and a comparison between EFL and ELF. So I'll ask you to pause the video and have a look at the differences between English as a foreign language or ESL and the ELF targets. And you might be surprised, and I'd just like to point this out, that the TH sound, both the voiced and the voiceless, does not stop people from understanding each other. So there's no problem regarding intelligibility. So pause the video, have a look at the chart. I'll just move on. So what I used was a chart. This is not the one I used, but I think it's a very nice one because you have everything from all the possibilities. This is not the full chart because it wouldn't fit. You have all the phonemes and the target nationalities that you might find in your classroom. So what you have to do is to check as you talk to students and highlight which of the problems they usually have. This was developed by Laura Patsko. She was working for Cambridge University Press. This is part of her master's degree research, and you can find it, a copy of this in her blog, ELF Prom. I have the link here, and it's also linked to the presentation. So if you download the presentation, you can click and check it for yourself. So what did I actually do? I asked students to read these 2 paragraphs, and I recorded them. So the first recording was from week 1, and the second recording from week 10, because my course was a 10-week course. I didn't create this. This is from the Dialect Archive. Also, the link is here. The presentation is also hyperlinked. So download the presentation and get the link. Very nice website. I didn't create a corpus for that because for my master's degree, I had 10 sentences, and those 10 sentences took me 3 months to design. Something as big as a paragraph would take me much longer, so I figured that I would just get something that was pre-made, and it worked fine. So if you're interested, go to the Dialects Archive and see it's a very nice website full of different people from different nationalities, different age groups, reading the same passages. So that's what students did, and that's how I could notice whether there was improvement or not in their pronunciation. The tools I used to help them, apart from the activities I designed myself, was ELF Prom website that I told you about. That's the one from Laura Patsko. And Sounds of Speech from the University of Iowa. Hancock MacDonald pronunciation website. When I was doing the action research, the prompt pack by Mark Hancock was not ready yet. Available when I was conducting the action research. I strongly, highly recommend your center to acquire a pack. The activities are fabulous. It is ELF oriented. There are 4 volumes. Get it online or get a paper copy. It's wonderful. It's really worth buying. I bought a copy myself. But then at that time it wasn't ready or available, so I just used Hancock MacDonald website. The Speech Accent Archive, I used Baidu, and if you teach Chinese students, you know that it's Google for them. That was very important for them to show me local people and their local videos. There is also the International Dialects of English Archive. That's the where I got the paragraphs from. YouTube, of course, for the activities and for videos. SoundCloud for SoundCloud and voice, but definitely any cell phone recorder. So students use the cell phone's recorder, then uploaded the tracks to SoundCloud, sent me the link, and from their tracks on SoundCloud, I was able to give them feedback. And let's go to the data collection. I use classroom observations, students' voice recordings, some structured interviews, and a short quiz. it's all about numbers, so let's go to the numbers. So my results. All students had improvement in individual sounds. Hooray! 70% had improvements in the production of consonant clusters, particularly the ones with R and L. And that was brilliant. We worked so hard with that. 45 developed awareness of long, short vowel sounds. 38% were able to produce and contrast long, short vowels. That was something I was not exactly happy about, but 38% was nice. It meant that even if 1%, I think it would mean that the action research might have been a bit effective. 29% were able to use tonic stress, and 69%, let's and Anaheim, were able to identify tonic stress. So these were my numbers, and I think it's important for you to see their voices. And I'll read the quotes because I get very emotional. I feel people can understand me good now. Every time I talk to people, they say, I'm sorry, can you say that again? Or the terrible, oh, you mean. Now they know what I'm saying. I'm so happy. I just want to say thank you. You teach me that Chinese is good and that I don't have to be embarrassed about how I speak English. I always remember how to say the R sound. Every time people don't understand me, I remember the class and I do it in the right way. And that's it. If you like action research and you want to meet like-minded people, go to join us at AussieLT. Have a Facebook group and a wiki page, a blog. Thank you very much. I'm Michelle Ocriciano, and if you're interested, if you want to see the slides and other resources, just go to this link or use the QR code. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.